Reno Bankhead just won a Senate primary by 12,000 votes and got photographed pacing a back room at the Rialto bar like she couldn't believe it either. This is Senate Pickup Watch. We've got 3 hard markers on the board today: Montana's upset, Nebraska's certified field, and Pappas's filing in New Hampshire.
And finally, enough on the table to actually work with, Sarah. Montana's been in a holding pattern for 2 days.
Then let's start in that back room in Missoula. Bankhead beat someone who'd been running since 2024, and the Daily Montanan has her visibly shocked when the race got called. There's no sign, at least in that room, of a finance operation ready to absorb the win.
Right, she doesn't inherit Neal's infrastructure. She didn't build one of her own. So the win is real, and the day after, she's starting from a standing stop.
On June 8th, I asked whether she walked out with money or just a margin. I'm done asking. The picture answers it. There's no machine here.
And in a state where Montana Democrats don't hold anything right now, you're talking logistics, not vibes. Surprise wins are exciting. Surprise wins with no field operation get expensive fast.
And watch the DSCC do nothing about it, same as always. Shiny nominee, drift, repeat.
Here's my other worry. Does Bankhead even fit a non-metro Montana electorate? Seemingly out of nowhere cuts both ways. Nobody's tested how she plays outside a Democratic primary. Flip to Nebraska, certified results, fields locked. So Osborne's general election math is official now.
Which means the petition lane is the next real deadline. The appetite for an independent run isn't just theory anymore. There's a filing window with a date on it. Then there's Pappas in New Hampshire, leading with a bipartisan record of achievement. Running as the Washington dealmaker in a state that takes pride in ignoring Washington. That framing either fits the mood or curdles fast.
And it's the Obama coalition playbook in a realignment moment. A bipartisan record can work with independent registrants, but is that where these voters actually are in 2026?
If they're in a throw-the-bums-out mood, I get things done in D.C. is a confession.
Compare it to Alaska, where the unusual profile genuinely carries weight. Pappas's pitch is the opposite: conventional credentials in a state that may have moved past wanting them.
Daily Montanan, with Jordan Hansen.
Bankhead, seemingly out of nowhere, won by almost 12,000 votes over Riley Neal, who had been campaigning for the Senate since 2024. At one point, after the race was called and as Bankhead and her staff were working to prepare a statement, she even exclaimed, "I'm new at this."
So back on June 8th, I left it as a cliffhanger. Did Bankhead walk out of that primary with money, or just a margin and a back room at the Rialto bar? Well, the Daily Montanan put a camera in that back room. She's pacing. She's in shock. She says, literally, "I'm new at this." Candidates with a finance operation standing by don't usually look like that. Shock is what it looks like when you didn't build for this outcome.
And look at the margin. Nearly 12,000 votes over Riley Neal, who'd been running since 2024. That's a real result. But the organizational problem is sitting right there, too. She doesn't inherit Neal's infrastructure because she beat it. And the state party she's leaning on? They hold 0 offices in Montana, 0 state, 0 federal. So the climb here is logistical. Who's actually building the general?
Here's Kevin Landrigan at Union Leader.
4-term Democratic Rep Chris Pappas said if elected to the U.S. Senate, that he would bring a bipartisan spirit to help working families deal with the country's affordability crisis. You've got to stay open to the sort of deliberations that should be happening in Washington. Right now, there's no deliberation that's happening on many of the major issues of the day, but I've demonstrated how you can stand up for what's right, Pappas, 46, told reporters.
Pappas files in Concord, and he leads with a bipartisan record of achievement. In a state that built its whole identity on telling Washington to go pound sand. 4 terms in the House, so he's not coming in cold. He can raise money, he can run a campaign. But that framing, that either ages like wine or like milk, depending on whether New Hampshire's in a throw-the-bums-out mood next fall.
Here's what catches me, though. New Hampshire has huge independent registration, and that deliberation, stay open to the other side, pitch, actually can play with those voters. Montana doesn't give you that same opening. But I'd push on whether bipartisan dealmaker is what voters are buying in 2026. If the working class drift is real, the affordability crisis voter might not want a deliberator. They might want a wrecking ball. Pappas is running an Obama-era profile in a moment that may have moved past it.
Here's Zach Wendling at Nebraska Examiner.
Lincoln. Nebraska's top state officials finalized the state's May primary election results Monday, which also set a countdown clock on when one such official will leave his post. The Nebraska Board of State Canvassers, composed of the Governor, Attorney General, Secretary of State, Treasurer, and Auditor of Public Accounts, voted unanimously to certify the May 12th election.
Okay, so it's certified. Nebraska's field is locked for November 3rd. The Osborne lane everyone's been hand-waving about now has an actual deadline on it.
Right, and that's the part I actually care about. Certified results lock in who he's running against, a different kind of accountability than another poll flattering and independent.
And here's the structural piece. The canvassers note the field's set, barring nonpartisans petitioning to be on the ballot. So certification doesn't close the independent path. There's still a petition window, and that part is still live.
Ran very smoothly, they said. Sure, the process did. Whether Osborne has the in-state organization to make this competitive is a whole different question.
If Senate Pickup Watch helps you keep the map in focus, take a second to subscribe or leave a review wherever you're listening. It really helps other people find the show. We've put links to all of today's stories in the show notes. So if one of those races or numbers caught your ear, you can dig in a little deeper there. That's Senate Pickup Watch for this Tuesday. This is a Lantern podcast.